Statistics show 1 in 4 Australians experience a mental health condition, and in New Zealand, a recent health survey indicated that 1 in 6 adults had been diagnosed with a common mental disorder. In fact, women are more likely to experience psychological distress than men, which is why joining us now we have writer and editor Jarrod Stackelroth, who's here to share his journey of living with a spouse who has mental health issues. Thanks for joining us, Jarrod.
Thank you, Fiona.
Now, I know, people with mental health don't necessarily know that they are dealing with some certain issues. Yeah. Being married to someone who has mental health, how early in the relationship did you realise, something's going on here?
Look, Fiona, it was quite early, thankfully. I knew what I was walking into, but without fully understanding what that looks like. My wife, it was probably...
What does it look like?
Well, it was probably a few months after we were dating, and my wife told me about a situation that had happened to her early in her childhood, and that had set her on the path to mental illness. She'd struggled as a teenager, but it hadn't been treated properly at the time, and then down the track, it sort of pops its head up every year or every couple of years, and it just comes back, this real season of discouragement and darkness that comes through from her depression. So, yeah, what was your question?
Well, pretty much how early in the relationship?
How early?
So
it was very early on. We were open with each other. We always wanted to have that as part of our relationship. So she told me straight up that she had suffered this experience, that things weren't all 100% right. But as I said, it doesn't sink in necessarily. You love someone. Yeah. You're filled with the happy hormones. You know, you're in the honeymoon phase. So you're like, yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. I'll do anything for you. And then you realise, actually, maybe I didn't quite know what I was getting into.
What were those signs? What exactly were those signs? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, sharing with me was very difficult for my wife. And I think just after that, it made her relive some of the things. And so we sought GP, we sought counselling. And I'd say to any of the viewers, like, if you're struggling with something, you need professional help. Like,
but sometimes you're in denial.
You're in denial, yeah. And so she struggled to make that first step.
Right. So you were there to encourage.
I was encouraging her, but you can't necessarily push someone in this state, because the more you push, the more they do the opposite of what you're saying. Part of depression is isolating yourself away from people, even the people that love you, and you love them back. So we sought help. We went to counselling. She was afraid to do it herself, so I went with her to those sessions. I sat there and let them talk it through. She got put on some medications and things that really threw her health around. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the signs was for about 2 weeks she couldn't get out of bed.
Right.
She was just completely wiped out.
Was depression? Was her mental health?
It was, but the drugs didn't help. So some of those things, I mean, that drug didn't help. So they tried about 5 or 6 different ones before they could find something that did help. So that's the journey.
So how long did it take before you went and saw professional help? Because you would have had to put up with certain, well, not put up with, you would have had to live with someone who was, temperamental at times.
Yeah, definitely. Look,
and yourself as a carer would have also reacted.
Yeah, it wasn't too long that first time. So this is the thing. That first time she was helped and she got a lot better through the counselling and different things. And then we were fine. We were cruising along for sort of 5 years. We were married happily. Things were going well. And then all of a sudden, back it comes. There's this season again. I call it a season. She calls it her pity parties. That's her sort of pet name for it. And we don't always know it's coming. Yeah. So I get the signs that she's a bit uptight. She's going off about things that she wouldn't normally be bothered by. There's certain things that tick her off.
out of character?
Very out of character, very irrational sometimes. And it starts to, you see the cracks starting to appear, but often you're not aware that she's struggling with these things until you're right in the middle of it. And then you're like, uh-oh, now I know what's happening. Like, this is where we are.
We've talked a lot about how it's impacted her.
Yes.
How has it impacted your life?
Look, I have struggled, and this is why I'm writing about it and talking about it, because I think not everyone who is supporting a family member with this stuff, there's a lot of awareness about there's a mental health day, there's Are You OK Day. But what about the people who support and help those people? So some of the things for me, it's like a very mild form of depression sometimes, because you feel...
As the carer?
You feel pressured, you feel stressed, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. If I do the wrong thing in my relationship, she might go worse. I don't want to make her worse. I love her. I want her to be better.
I know
And
you wrote an article actually,
Yes.
which is Never Lose Heart, and it's going to be featured in an upcoming issue of the At the Table magazine. So do subscribe to that for Jarrod's article, Never Lose Heart. And you write, my wife suffered severe ongoing abuse as a child. It left her with scars. You go on to say, they are left for me to heal, to bind up and comfort her. When I read that, I felt like, is this your outcry for help? Is that what a lot of people who are, living with someone who they love, they need? And so you wrote about your experience and shared your own, I guess, frustrations.
Definitely.
Is that what it was?
It was in a real, very real sense. It was my heart's cry. I was struggling with this, struggling with supporting her, and I was like, how do I deal with this? I've recently finished my master's in creative writing, and I was studying trauma narratives. So the power of these stories as we tell them to heal the reader, to heal those who hear them, and the healing power of stories in general. And I truly believe that. I'm a Christian. There's a lot of broken people in the Bible, and those stories are told without fear, without sort of holding anything back. It's like we get the warts and all version. And that, I think, helps us as people to go, hey, I can relate. I can understand what this person's going through. So that's really important to me, to tell that story. And for me, like I said before, there's a lot of people dealing with this. I feel like there's a lot of people dealing with this and it's not talked about.
Dealing with the carer side of it.
Dealing with helping someone you love who's going through something that's a very difficult thing that you can't actually fix.
Well, we have so many support groups for other things. The parents or friends of someone who's committed suicide or who has alcohol abuse problems. Have you found that you need to get counseling yourself to support you through this?
At this point, I haven't gone to that place, but I do. I have at our church, we have a men's group, a small group, and I was able to share as I was going through some of this with them, and they supported me, they helped me. Getting it off your chest and talking to someone is half the battle in this situation, because they isolate themselves, so they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to let anyone know that something's wrong.
There's a stigma.
You feel you have to respect that. You have to hold that end of the bargain up, and so you don't seek help, you don't do that. So I'd encourage anyone who's struggling with some of these things, talk to someone about it.
And for men, it's terribly hard as well, because men want to fix things.
That's right.
So you've got this circle of, I want to fix you and make things better, but I can't.
You have to come to that point where you realise it's not up to you to fix, it's up to you to love. I truly believe the power of love can help to heal some of this stuff.
And prayer.
And prayer.
And faith. Like, I get my encouragement from those places. And Lena won't change when I tell her, you have to do this, you should get more exercise, you should get sunlight, you should see someone, get counselling. She doesn't change. But when I love her, I see changes happen because she feels safe, she feels accepted, she feels loved. So that's my experience.
Yes. It's so important, I think, just to seek professional help, as Jarrod has said, and talk to someone if you're feeling anxious, depressed or out of sorts. Thanks so much, Jarrod, for sharing your journey with us, and we hope and will continue to pray that you both never lose heart. If you want to read Jarrod's story, subscribe to the At the Table magazine by emailing us at hello@thetabletv.com with your postal deets, and we will get a copy out to you for free. Thank you so much, Jarrod.
Thanks, Fiona.